tend to have more access to resources to be able to use in their defense versus people that don't have money. So you see a lot of, lower, and that's really a class issue, and race does come into play.
This is Let Your Voice Be Heard, right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. Good morning and welcome to Let Your Voice Be Heard right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. Welcome, guys. My name is Selena Hill. I'm sitting in Stanley's seat. Why? He's not here. Forgot where he is again, but we know he's not here. I think he'll be here like next Sunday, but the show must go on. This is a show where we talk politics, social issues, foreign policy, and we do that from a diverse millennial perspective, guys. So there's a lot to talk about. Before we do, let me just let you guys know how you can reach me. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Selena Hill. Miss is spelled with an MS. And I am joined by my co-host, Jackie Cohen. Morning, Jackie.
How's it going?
Could be better.
We got a little late start today, but that's okay.
Hey, I'm here. I'm alive. I didn't get in a
good.
car accident.
There were, multiple attempts on all of our commutes this morning. I took the subway up here, and so I was stuck underground for a little. I left my house early this morning. I was like, yes, I'm going to do it. Like, I always say I'm going to be here like half an hour early, and this is the morning where I'm going to do it. And then I get stuck underground for 20 minutes because of police activity, but I didn't see any, so I don't know. Sometimes, at 34th Street.
Were the police hiding? They just wanted to, jump out of the door and say, "Ooh, we got you, we got you."
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Do they do that?
Yeah, they do.
They literally do.
We could literally do a whole show on this and
on fare evasion
and broken windows policing. Yeah. If the police department really wanted to prevent fare evasion, they would just put two police officers in front of the turnstile, and people would see police there and then would not jump the turnstile to begin with. But instead, they tell cops to hide in closets, like broom closets, and peep through the holes so that they can wait for people to jump the turnstile and then catch them and arrest them, and then spend taxpayer money to put them through the system over a $2.75 fare.
Yeah. Oh, you have to love NYPD.
Yeah,
Don't we love them?
So maybe we'll have a whole conversation about that one day.
I would love that. I think
but
we
maybe
should
probably not today.
Yeah.
Not today. Well, welcome to the show. Jackie, did you give a formal introduction?
No, I'm Jackie Cohen, political correspondent for the show. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Jackie Cohen. That's JAQICOHEN.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Speaking of legal stuff, I'm your legal correspondent. My name's Alyssa Fuchs, and you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Alyssa Fuchs, or where I say the most things, and, get in fights with crazy conservatives that, think that guns are the best thing on the planet. You can go to Politically Preposterous, which is facebook.com/politically preposterous. And on Twitter, you can find me at Alyssa Fuchs with an I, or at Poll Preposterous for the Politically Preposterous Twitter account.
Alyssa, how many Twitter fights do you or social media fights do you initiate a week?
I wouldn't say I initiate them. I post
don't back down.
An article that I think is relevant and important and has important information. And inevitably, somebody who's conservative will show up and start stamping their feet and slamming their fists on the table, saying that couldn't possibly be true. And then I'll have to spar with them. And, sometimes we'll go back and forth a few times, and sometimes I'll just be like, oh, my God, this person is too dumb for me to even spend time arguing. But, it's fun, but I can't waste a lot of time on it because otherwise I wouldn't have time for other things, like doing this great show that we do here.
Absolutely. And we do have a great show lined up. So, you guys, if you are listening live, you know that tonight is the 90th Academy Awards. And if you won't be watching it, maybe you'll be boycotting and protesting. A lot of people have been doing that for the last few years, especially in light of the Oscars So White phenomenon that was created in 2015 and then spiraled and went viral in 2016. So regardless about the Academy Awards and what we're expecting, we're actually going to be presenting what we call the Advocacy Awards and highlighting fierce female leaders for the work, the activism, and the advocacy that they are doing to benefit our lives. I mean, these women are so phenomenal that they're pushing for policy changes, legislation that will help people of color, other women, people who identify as queer or trans. So, you know, people who are Muslim. So we're going to talk about all of these dynamic women and what they are doing, especially because it's Women History Month, right? So stay tuned, guys. We're going to go on a quick break. Don't go anywhere. But, of course, if you want to let your voice be heard, you know you can call us up at
212
650-6903. All right, guys.
Can we just say it one more time? 212-650-6903. Call us up.
Welcome back, guys. We're here at WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. Again, my name is Selena Hill. I'm here with Alyssa Fuchs, Jackie Cohen. I think Stanley is somewhere watching from internet land.
He's having drunk brunch right now, probably, without us.
Screw you, Stanley.
Seriously. Screw you, Stanley. But welcome to the show, guys. And shout out to everyone who is watching via Facebook. If you're listening via podcast, thank you for you, too. We appreciate all of our listeners and supporters. And speaking of support, I know a lot of people will not be supporting the Academy Awards. As I mentioned before we went on break, Oscars So White, it started off as a hashtag, and it sort of spiraled into a movement that really called out Hollywood for their lack of diversity and inclusion. The fact that we had great, phenomenal actors like Will Smith and, you know, and directors like Spike Lee who are never really acknowledged at what's supposed to be the premier filmmaking award ceremony for those who work in Hollywood and make films in front of the camera or behind the camera. So, you know, Oscar So White, April Rain, she was actually a guest on our show a few years ago. She created this phenomenon. And, you know, when she was on the show, she talked about it was basically just a need to speak out, to call out the entertainment industry for what it's been doing. And what happened was it actually elevated into a boycott, and the Academy Awards actually suffered a drop in their ratings. So nonetheless, we're here today. And later on, there will be the Academy Awards. Not sure if I'll be tuning in or not. I don't know.
I just think it's boring. Honestly,
no, it is kind of.
It's
a little
think it's
antiquated.
Boring.
Yeah, it's really. It's, you know, I mean, what we've seen is it's typically old white men in the Academy voting for what they think is the best in Hollywood, and this is the year where we're sort of ending old white men in Hollywood. So I mean, maybe it will be interesting, right? Like maybe that will be. There will be a twist. I mean, last year we saw Moonlight win Best Picture, right? But not without its own struggle to win that award. The award was given to La La Land, which I've seen that movie. It's entertaining, but it is definitely like white mediocrity at its best, right? And so to have to hand that award to La La Land to then discover that a mistake was made and the award was given to Moonlight, I mean, like, it's like these... You can't even win the right way, right? It can't come without struggle.
I don't know. I just think there's something boring about just like listening to people give speeches and thank people that you don't know. They're like, let me thank my manager and my agent and my this and the producer. And it's like half the people they're thanking, you're like, who's that? Right. And I'm just like, I don't know. That's boring. I mean, like the only thing that I find like fun about it is like the like jokes that like the host makes. And even sometimes those
Who's
have been.
Who's hosting it this year? Do we?
Don't know.
Ryan Seacrest.
Are you kidding me?
So there's a lot of controversy in the fact that even Ryan Seacrest is hosting. So there are some allegations of sexual harassment against Ryan, and we know, yeah, absolutely, and we know that we are in the Me Too movement. This is time's up. This is that time, and I'm pretty sure a lot of actresses who take the stage, they're probably going to speak about it. But hey, it is what it is. So. Nonetheless, it's time to move on to the Advocacy Awards, where we here at Let Your Voice Be Heard will be recognizing the dynamic women who are either activists, political leaders, community leaders. Basically, what they're doing is they're making our lives better through their work and their activism. So I wanted to start off. Not all of the women are work in Hollywood. So, like, for instance, the first category is most underrepresented woman in Hollywood, right? So, basically, we're saying who would deserve this award. Now, we actually have 3 nominees. that we will give. And if you guys have a wild card answer, feel free to chime in via Facebook, or you can call us up at 212-650-6903. Okay, so again, category is most underrepresented woman in Hollywood. Alyssa, you're checking the Facebook Live, right?
I am.
Okay, perfect. So let us know who you think should be the winner. Is it Gina Rodriguez? She is the star of Jane the Virgin. Our second nominee is Angela Bassett, who is a renowned actress, legendary actress who does not get enough recognition in mainstream media or AKA just white Hollywood. Or Monique, who is an actress and a comedian who actually called for a boycott against Netflix because she says she was not offered a sufficient deal that would have really recognized her worth and her value as a legendary comedian, as opposed to white comedians, white men and white women. So what's your answer, Jackie?
I would say Angela Bassett. I think she's so talented. I just saw Black Panther this week. And
oh
she's
my
amazing
God.
in that.
She was the mother.
But she was, I mean, you know, controversial to talk about Master of None, which was Aziz Ansari's show, but she was in an episode of that show that won a lot of awards that Lena Waithe wrote about coming out as gay, and she played the mother in that episode, and I thought she was tremendous. I think she's so talented, so beautiful, just, you know, such a presence on the screen, and I don't know, to me she seems like she's so underrated, I guess, by white Hollywood. You're absolutely right. But I think she should be a much bigger deal than maybe she's considered, although to me she's a big deal.
Alyssa, who is the most underrepresented woman in Hollywood?
So I'm going to go with a wild card here. I'm going to say Laverne Cox.
Okay.
Laverne Cox is a trans woman of color. She has done a million things, but she's best known for her role in Orange is the New Black. And on top of being an amazing actress and just a beautiful woman, she also does an immense amount of advocacy for trans people of color, and also for trans people who are trying to break into Hollywood. And so I think for that reason, she is the most underrepresented woman in Hollywood.
Great answers, guys. Facebook, talk to us. Who is the most underrepresented woman in Hollywood? I'll give you my answer. It's a wild card.
Ooh.
I think the answer is Black women. In general, here's why. So the institutional obstacles that women experience are even more impacted on women of color, whether that's in front of the camera or behind the camera. And for example, Taraji P. Henson, who a lot of people know from Empire, she actually revealed in her memoir that she was paid in the low six-figure range. And she actually had to cover her own lodging for 3 months while she was shooting The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, where she played Brad Pitt's adoptive mother.
She had to pay for her own lodging
Yes.
in that film? That's wild.
With Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And now this is a quote that she said from her book. She says, "The math really is pretty simple. There are way more talented Black actresses than there are intelligent, meaningful roles for them. This is exactly how a studio can get away with paying the person whose name is third on the call sheet of a big budget film less than 2% what it's paying the person whose name is listed first." She added, "I knew the stakes. If I pushed for more money, I'd be replaced, and no one would so much as blink." Now, the feat that Taraji P. Henson is detailing here in her memoir and has talked about is something that every single Black woman in Hollywood can pretty much relate to, because, I mean, the obstacles are just layered on if you're Black, if you're a woman, and especially if you're trans. Like, this is definitely a white man's game and a white man's club, and it's like Black women almost have to feel like, oh, you should be lucky that you even got picked for the role. You should be lucky even to co-star with Brad Pitt, let alone how much you get paid. Like, it's horrible. And I just wanted to add that according to a 2016 Hollywood Writers Report, white men earn a median of $133,000, while black writers earned only $99,000, and Latino writers earned $84,000. So again, that just goes to show that whether you're working in front of the camera or behind the camera, the disparity is substantial, and we should not stand for it.
Well, there are some black women that are doing well, though, and that leads us into our second category, which is when you do well, do you give back? So I'm going to throw it back to Selena to introduce our second category and our nominees.
Great. So second category, guys, and feel free to chime in on Facebook or Twitter. It is Best Hollywood Humanitarian. So who is the celebrity making the biggest impact on our society? Is it Oprah Winfrey, Beyonce, or Rihanna? Who wants to go first? Alyssa?
This is such a hard one. I'm inclined to go with Beyonce just because I love Beyonce and I know she has done a lot of work to give back, in particular to the people of Houston, and also, to other people, her and her husband, who is Jay-Z, if you didn't know. When they're not, when Beyonce's sister isn't assaulting him in an elevator because of his actions. But that's another show. I think that the two of them do a really good job of, giving back money, helping to try and end violence in urban areas, and just, working to create a good example for young people of color that are seeing Beyonce and seeing Jay-Z, and seeing two very wealthy Black people who have made it and that they want other people to make it also. So as much as I like Oprah and Rihanna, I'm going to have to go with Beyonce here.
Jackie?
I will probably have to go with Beyonce as well.
As a member of the agency, I think that's the correct answer.
Because I am legally required to answer that question.
You're on contract.
Beyonce. Yeah, I'm on contract. No, I mean, I think Beyonce is great, and I know that she's done a lot of humanitarian work and donated a lot of money without even being sort of upfront about it. Like, it's come out that she and Jay-Z have donated as much money as they have to certain causes, and I kind of like that. I like that they haven't been, like, pushing it in people's faces, but they do it because it's right, not because it makes them look good, although it does make them look good. And I think Beyonce in general, I don't know, I think of her as such a role model. She's incredibly talented. She's beautiful. She's sexy. She's funny. Like, she's interesting. She, I don't know. I just think that she is a great example of, like, you can work hard and really, like, pursue what you love and be passionate about what you love and, create this amazing legacy for yourself. So I would say Beyonce as well.
Absolutely. No, I mean, yeah, it's Beyonce. But I would say, so really quickly, my answer to this question would be Oprah Winfrey. I think that she sort of pioneered, I don't want to say pioneered, but she did such a good job for decades on end in giving back. I mean, you remember the show where she was like, you get a car, you get a car. But like, even beyond that, she's been donating to a lot of great causes. The most recent one is the student activists in Florida, the high schoolers who are pushing for gun reform. She donated $500,000 to the Parkland students to help their marches and the advocacy work that they're doing. So shout out to Oprah. That's my answer. But we have a lot more other categories and superlatives to give away. Don't go anywhere, guys. This is Let Your Voice Be Heard, and this is the Advocacy Awards.
Groove, let the medicine, the music get to you. Like it's so bad at all.
And we are back. This is Let Your Voice Be Heard right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. Again, my name is Selena Hill. I'm here with Alyssa Fuchs and Jackie Cohen. Stanley is somewhere watching hungover. Shout out to Stanley. And you should definitely leave a comment on our Facebook live feed, Stanley, if you are watching, and anybody who's watching. So shout out to you guys. And of course, if you're listening and you want to just call in and give us a comment, the number is
212-650-6903.
Great. So where we left off, we were giving away different awards. Why? Because tonight is the Academy Awards, but we know it's pretty much going to be boring old white men congratulating themselves and praising themselves like these people don't get paid enough money, recognition, and perks in their life. whatever, right? So we're giving away awards to people who are doing real work. And I'm not trying to say that people who work in entertainment don't do real work, because I do that too. But I'm just saying this is the work that changes lives on a very real sense, right? So the next award that we wanted to give away is called Best Ally. So which white woman is basically a really good ally to different social causes? Our nominees are Alyssa Milano, Madonna, or Hillary Clinton. Facebook, let us know. Hillary Clinton, Alyssa Milano, or Madonna. Jackie?
I just want to say, I was not on the call when we discussed this show.
Clearly
this
you
week.
weren't on the call.
So I have a lot of questions about this particular category and how it came about and why these people were selected. But I'm going to choose a wild card, and I'm going to say Jessica Chastain. So there was a great interview with Octavia Spencer after Sundance where Octavia Spencer talked about, she's very good friends with Jessica Chastain, and Jessica reached out to her, approached her about collaborating on a film together. And they talked about, Jessica Chastain has been very vocal about the pay gap and the gender gap in Hollywood. And they were talking about this, and Octavia Spencer said, this is something you're aware of, but let me tell you about the wage gap between women of color and white women in Hollywood, which was not something that Jessica Chastain knew about, I guess. And Jessica Chastain put her money where her mouth was and said, I will tie you to this project. We will make the same amount. If we are going to work together, we are going to make the same amount of money. And she made that happen. And that's what's happening now. And they're going into production for this film together. And I think that is really important to recognize that it's not enough just to say, I stand with you, I support you, I want the best for you, but to really put your own self on the line and say, I am willing to, risk what I'm working on to make sure that we both come up together. I think that's tremendous. So I would choose Jessica Chastain in Hollywood specifically.
So that's such a better nominee, Jackie. Clearly why we need you.
You're going to love my wild card then, but you first.
Okay. So I would pick Alyssa Milano. Reason being because, obviously we know she was the actress that was tweeting using that hashtag #MeToo, and that basically helped the #MeToo hashtag go viral and really enter into mainstream America. But the thing that I like, she didn't co-opt the movement. She gave appropriate spotlight and recognition to Tawana Burke, the black woman who was using the #MeToo logo and the #MeToo basically catchphrase for a decade, and she's been doing a lot of work. So after that, Tawana Burke has really been doing even more work because of she has the support of Alyssa Milano.
Absolutely. So before I get to my answer, we're getting a comment from Uma Mishra, and she says that she's going to second Jessica Chastain, but she also wants to throw in Shailene Woodley for her support of Indigenous rights and Standing Rock activists.
Right.
And thank you so much, Uma, for that comment. So my pick for ally is also a wild card, and it's Heather Heyer. Heather Heyer was killed in Charlottesville by a white supremacist. She was in Charlottesville protesting against white supremacy, and she lost her life for that. And, to go out there and put your life on the line as an ally and to actually be killed by a white supremacist, in order to be an ally to a cause, I think is a very, strong position to be in. And, obviously we feel very noble. That's the words I was looking for. Thank you, Jackie. We feel very bad for her family. I know her mom has now become an activist after her death. But, I feel very strongly that Heather should get that award, especially because she gave the ultimate sacrifice as an ally.
Absolutely. Great answer. Again, guys, I would say, okay, so we're moving on to Best Social Activist now. Facebook, feel free to leave a comment. Who would you say is the best social activist that should win that award? Would it be Tamika Mallory, who is co-founder of the Women's March? Tawana Burke, who started Me Too long before it became a hashtag, or Carmen Perez, who is an Afro-Latina who also co-founded the Women's March and has been doing a lot of advocacy work, especially in criminal justice, as a part of the New York Justice League.
I would choose all of the above, and
That's your wild card answer?
I would also add Linda Sarsour
Yep.
because I love Linda Sarsour. I think she's such a role model to me. So I would say all of the above. I think all of these women are tremendous and have done incredible work and make me extremely proud to stand, for the causes that they're advocating for. So yeah. They're all great.
I actually would have to agree with Jackie on that. And my choice was going to be Linda Sarsour. So, obviously she's a friend to the show. We've had her on before. And she's local here to New York. And sometimes, she gets a bad rap because she is very vocal and standing up for causes that she really believes in. And, men don't like when strong women of color stand up for causes they believe in. And so, I just want to put that out there. And I also just want to mention within that, sometimes Linda has been labeled as anti-Semitic, and that really could not be further from the truth. So I think it's worth mentioning, for myself, and I'm sure Jackie could echo this sentiment, as people who are of the Jewish faith, but who also stand strongly in support with non-oppressionist ideals, to point out that, just because of the work Linda does, does not make her anti-Semitic. She is very much a friend to Jewish people.
Yeah, I was going to mention that there's feedback saying that accusing her of being anti-Semitic because she believes in Palestinian liberation. And as someone who is against the occupation of Palestine and a Jew, I recognize the work that she's doing to be incredibly important. And I think of her as an ally too. Last year there were numerous attacks on Jewish institutions. There were, I think, over 100 bomb threats called in to JCCs and Jewish institutions and synagogues across the United States. There were, I believe, dozens of Jewish cemeteries that were desecrated, where tombstones were overturned and destroyed. And Linda Sarsour actually raised money to help restore those cemeteries, those Jewish cemeteries. I mean, I think she's someone who I know colleagues of mine have engaged with directly. I think she's a fierce advocate. And, I stand behind her and the work that she's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just say, if I had to give away the best social activist award, it would go to Tamika Mallory, who I have met a number of times
She's
personally. Great. I mean, yeah, she's great. And I think that I probably do have like a little bias because
all these women are great. It's so hard.
They're all great. They're all great. But every time I've interacted with Tamika Mallory, it's been very like sister girlish, very supportive, very I see you, Selena, very, very warm and embracive. And then it's like she gets on the stage and she has moved me to tears with her speeches so many times. And it's like her rallying call for activism, it goes beyond just social justice and trying to stop the mass incarceration of Black men. For instance, just I think yesterday, she published a moving piece in Blavity calling for more Black leaders to join the pro-immigration movement. And she wrote this phenomenal piece. I just want to read one quote that really touched me. She says, and I quote, "Black leaders must stand for these communities, not just because they are part of our communities, but because they are human beings with civil rights are under attack." And the reason why I'm so happy that she's taking this stance is because a lot of times I've heard African Americans say things like, well, we have to just stick to our own issues and fight for our own. But I don't really subscribe to that type of thinking. I think that with one marginalized community or a person is being affected or attacked, we all are. And I'm so happy that Tamika has taken this stance and says that they're expanding their work to now include fighting for immigrants, especially because Black immigrants happen to be the ones who are most disenfranchised of that group. So shout out to Tamika and great answers, Jackie and Alyssa. Moving on, the next award that we are giving out, Best History Maker. Now, our nominees are Rosa Parks, Coretta Scott King, and Fannie Lou Hamer. Who wants to jump in there?
I'll jump in. This is so hard because they're
all
just such great people. We really did a good job of picking nominees, making it difficult for us. I don't envy the people in Hollywood who have to choose between great movies or just anybody who ever has to decide award shows. I'm torn between going with Rosa Parks and going with Coretta Scott King. So, I'm going to pick Rosa Parks just because, I love Rosa Parks. And one of my favorite sayings, and I'm sure you've seen this on a T-shirt, I'm actually looking at it right now, it's just this T-shirt and it says, nah. NAH, period. And then it just says Rosa Parks, 1955. And I love that this act of civil disobedience that Rosa Parks engaged in, because she was just like, nah, I'm not going to move. You're going to have to move me from this bus. And that sort of really was a snowball that, affected so many other things just by her saying this one simple thing. Nah, I'm not moving. I also, though, really like Coretta Scott King just because I know she was very much a driving force behind her husband. And I think that's important. And if I had to pick a wild card, I'd probably...
Alyssa, how many choices?
Yeah, right.
Well, I was
right.
gonna say,
Alyssa, it's one choice.
Yeah.
Let's move it on. Alyssa's giving explanations for each one.
I know. I would just say, last but not least, I don't want to forget about the young woman who integrated the school in Brown versus Board of Ed. So I just wanted to give her a little nod.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. But Rosa Parks is still going to be my choice.
Gotcha. Jackie?
Well, based off of Rosa Parks, I'm going to go with Claudette Colwin, who actually inspired Rosa Parks' civil disobedience. And I think she was 15 at the time. She refused to give up her seat for a white person on a bus. And that was weeks before Rosa Parks did. And Rosa Parks did it as an act inspired, because it was so powerful. And, it was an organized act where she was chosen to take part in this act. And, it created history. But Claudette Colwin was, I believe, 15. She was very young. She was a student. She refused to give up her seat. And I think looking today at what's happening with student activism across the country and how young people age 15 and older are, being accused of not being mature enough or not being adults and not, and because of that, they shouldn't engage in politics and, they're too young to understand. I mean, Claudette Colwin understood,
That's
right?
a good point.
Her actions launched, a million similar actions like her own. And I think that it speaks to how much we should be trusting young people and how, their actions should inspire action by the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely go with Rosa Parks as well because I think that what she did, like Alyssa, you guys both touched on what she did, but it was so inspirational. The fact that you see like this black woman taking a stance and when we think of like the civil rights movement, a lot of times, we rightfully praise and recognize the black men and these black leaders that like black male leaders that really moved the mark. But Rosa Parks is also someone who was right there in the trenches. And I think we have a comment.
Yeah, we do have a quick comment from Roland Michael who says these nominees are impossible to choose from. They should all win.
Well, that's not how the
category.
world works. There's only one winner here. I'm just kidding, guys.
It's capitalism. There's winners and losers.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all
But I digress.
No, but it's true. And I mean, that's what we, aim to do in this show is to really highlight tremendous women, and not say that there's only one, but that there are many, many tremendous women that we should be honoring.
There sure are. And we still have more awards to give away. So stay tuned, guys. This is the Advocacy Awards right here on Let Your Voice Be Heard. And we are back. This is Let Your Voice Be Heard right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem, where we are rocking. And I hope you guys are appreciating the soundtrack, the playlist that I'm playing, guys. It's all Michael Jackson. So if you're listening in Harlem, you can hear the music.
Sorry, Facebook Live.
Sorry, podcast
We don't want to get
listeners.
kicked off, but
But yeah, so we're rocking Michael Jackson today, guys. All right, so where we left off, we were talking about different advocacy awards that we're giving away in place of the Academy Awards. Now, the next category we have is titled I'm With Her. And this is a category to spotlight a phenomenal elected official who happens to be a woman of color who is doing...
Or queer,
who is doing... in politics, obviously fighting against the Trump administration and all the other craziness. So our nominees are Kamala Harris, Maxine Waters, and Danica Rome. Alyssa, who are you going with?
As much as I love Maxine, yay, Auntie Maxie, I got to go with Danica Rome. As somebody who is queer myself and who has potentially or does potentially want to run for office in the future, a lot of people when I was growing up always told me, like, it's so much more difficult. Like, you know, queer people don't win an election. You know, you basically, like, have to be a straight white man or at least straight or white or, you know, like fit into some like box in order to be an elected official in this country because, you know, women don't get elected and especially queer women don't get elected. And Danica Rome has said, no, that's not true. So Danica Rome is a trans woman. She was elected to the Virginia House of Delegates. She represents the area around Manassas in Virginia. And she's an amazing woman who is doing great work, not just on the bigger picture issues like fighting Trump, but on local things like getting the roads fixed and, you know, dealing with community issues in the district where she lives and the people she represents. And, you know, so I think that she's an amazing woman and she's definitely going to be my choice. And I'm with her.
Jackie? This is, again, like impossible choices. So thank you. And I was trying to think of some more wild cards because there are so many women who are now running for office. I think that this category will be even harder to answer next year because I know that there are a lot of efforts right now to get more and more women elected into office at all levels of government. I know in New York City, there's a big campaign to get more women represented at city council. I'm kind of stuck between Danica Rome for reasons that Alyssa just said and also Maxine Waters. I think that she has been such a voice of sanity through all of this nonsense this past year. And you know, she has a long career. I really respect it. And I think that she has just been unwilling to back down and she's, you know, been honest and upfront and aggressive about her opinions. And I really respect the work that she's done. So
absolutely. So I'm going with Auntie Maxine. Reason why is because she just keeps it too real.
Yeah.
Like she has been calling for the impeachment of Trump for months now before a lot of other Democrats started signing on. And she was like, we got to get rid of him. And every time someone takes a shot at her, whether it's Bill O'Reilly or Donald Trump, she claps back. She's like, oh no, I'm not going to be the bigger person. I'm going to clap right back. And I'm like, yes, Auntie. That's what I'm saying. So, but let me just say, recently, so Donald Trump actually took more shots at Auntie Maxine last night. He said he actually talked about her IQ saying, and I quote, she has to immediately take an IQ test and people go crazy, right? So Auntie Maxine responds, and I quote, she responded this morning, for a president whose own staff and appointees have referred to him as ignorant, stupid, and whose own Secretary of State Tillerson has not denied calling him a moron, Trump needs to get out of the name calling game.
Wait, no, she followed that up. The next tweet was, we might also inquire of Stormy Daniels, remember that's the porn star, about Trump's mental state since she has observed him up close. I'm sure she could give us a revealing interpretation of her own observations.
Wait, the last tweet, just to wrap it up, imagine the president of the United States rolling around the West Wing, disoriented, ranting, angry, carrying on, and paranoid, dreaming up public policy. It's a dangerous thing for America. Get ready for impeachment.
Yeah, Maxie.
Do you see Auntie Maxine's level of petty? Like her petty is like,
but it's not
she's
even
like,
petty.
We should ask the porn star.
It's not. It's just true, right? And she's unafraid and unapologetic and just willing to say what we're all thinking. And in this moment in politics, I mean, we need that coming from our elected leaders on the left. So she's great.
Absolutely. So shout out to Auntie Maxine. We do have to just move it along. Final category is something we call Who's Got Next. So here we wanted to spotlight phenomenal activists who are doing a lot of work on the ground but aren't as well known. But we predict in 5-10 years, less than 5 to 10 years, they are definitely going to be getting more national spotlight. So who's got next in your book, Alyssa?
Well, so originally I was going to pick myself, but then I took I listened to Kendrick, and I decided to sit down, be humble. I'm actually going to go with a good friend of mine. Her name is Elsa Waith. She's a comedian, and she's also an activist. She's originally from Virginia, but now she lives in New York City, and she does a lot of really great work. She is a Black woman. She is also queer. She does a monthly showcase of comedy where she talks about a lot of really important issues. And she's also always on the front lines of a lot of protests. I actually met Elsa back when Eric Garner died. She was leading a lot of the Black Lives Matter, Shut It Down NYC protests. And she was always the one who was like on the megaphone, explaining to petty white people why we were shutting down like an H&M store in the middle of the Christmas shopping season because of Eric Garner's death. She's done a lot of really, really great work, and she's also really funny. So you guys should check her out. She's on Twitter and also on Facebook. She has a new web series coming out that's called High Bible Stories, where her and another comedian smoke weed and then they read the Bible. So that's going to be really great.
That sounds amazing.
Coming out next week. You should check it out. And you can also find her on Twitter at Elsa, just Elsa.
They should invite you on that show, Selena.
No, guys. They should invite you guys. That sounds hilarious.
I think that's the show that Stanley should
I
be
do
on.
not confirm or deny whether or not I engage in any marijuana use.
Alyssa, no one even like...
No one asked.
Yeah.
You said you should go on that show.
Yeah, because Selena loves the Bible.
Right,
She's
and
reading
it's
the
funny.
Bible.
So then why would I go on?
Well, because you like the other part of that show.
Right.
Anyway, so
Exactly. Which I don't confirm or deny.
But, right. So my answer for this very challenging category would be Erin Lang, who is someone that we've had on the show before. She's an activist. She's a trans woman of color. She's fantastic, and I highly encourage people to listen to our show from a few months back. I think it was over the summer that we did the show in response to the Problematic Breakfast Club show where there were really disgusting comments made about Janet Mock, who they had on as a guest, and there were people calling for the Breakfast Club to be canceled. So we had Erin Lang on the show to talk about the problematic language used on that show towards trans women and about advocacy in general. And I think that she's amazing and doing really incredible work, and she's a talented artist and activist, and I just really admire the work that she's doing.
Shout out to Erin Lang. Yes, absolutely. So my choice for this category is also a person who has appeared on Let Your Voice Be Heard before. Her name is Kat Lazo. She is a Latinx feminist media activist who has educated me so much about Latinx issues. Like just the fact of like why you should refer to her as Latinx and not Latina is something that I did not always understand. Like she does these phenomenal YouTube videos where she just breaks down real issues in a very common language in a way that you can understand. Like for instance, she talked about why a lot of Latinx people will identify as white as opposed to Afro-Latino. Like just the different references. There was one video she talked about the difference between being Hispanic and Spanish, and I was just like these type of conversations we're not having enough of them outside of smaller groups. And I think that the more educated that we are, especially about alternative ethnicities and lifestyles, the better we can connect with one another. And also, did I mention the indigenous video she did? She did a video explaining how and why she actually identifies as an indigenous Latinx. And I was just like, I really appreciate it. And besides just really talking about her identity and her background, another thing she talks about is sexism and misogyny. But she does it from like the most snarky, sarcastic, funny way ever. And I'm just like, this girl is brilliant. And she did a TED Talk. And I'm just like, Kat, you're so wonderful.
She's great. And I love her videos, and I think that she's used YouTube as a platform to really just like amplify her voice and the voice of others, and it's really cool. Her videos are fantastic, and I definitely encourage people to watch them.
Absolutely. And you can actually find her work at thecatsmeow.com. She has her own website. She's been featured on Huffington Post, BuzzFeed. If you haven't seen her already, check her out, thecatsmeow.com. So on that note, guys, that wraps it up for the 2018 Advocacy Awards. But before we go, I just want to give everyone a few minutes to give their final thoughts about how we can continue to empower women of color, all of the women that we talked about today, so that they can continue to do the work that is needed. Jackie?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's so, in these trying times, I think it's important to uplift and support these women who are doing the work, who are really, especially the women who are on the ground, putting themselves on the line every single day to advance us towards a better tomorrow. And so I really, I'm happy that we could use the show to highlight a very small few of the women who are doing this work each day. But I think that it's important for us to recognize and support this work and, support it in whatever way that we can.
I was going to say something along the same lines, so I really won't spend a lot of time repeating Jackie. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to, in particular, point out that if you're a white woman, use your position of privilege to help prop up a woman of color, whether that be through your networks by putting her in touch with people that can help her achieve her goal, or if you're in a financial position to give money. What people of color, and in particular white women of color who are doing this great work, need from white women is for you to be a good ally, for you not to take what they are doing and run with it and make it your own and co-opt it, but for you to be a good ally. And there are many ways for white women to be good allies. And if you're not sure what those are, then you should speak to some of your friends who are activists of color and ask them how you can be an ally to them without co-opting their movement. And you should take those steps.
I would also say, though, do your own work. Don't expect women of color to do the work for you and constantly have to tell you, how you should be a good person. Do some research, talk to people for sure, but, get on the internet. There are a wealth of resources available to you, so don't just expect other women to have to educate you constantly. Do your own work. It's hard, but you can do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would just add quickly, women of color, we've been on the front lines of every issue. Why? Is because we feel it most. But we're often in the shadows. We're often, standing by and standing down so that we can propel a lot of black men and black leaders who obviously we love and support. But, I'm so happy that we can just take some time to recognize the Tawana Burks, the Tamika Mowrys, the Carmen Perez's of the world, because they deserve that. Each and every day, they've dedicated their lives to activism. And like I've been saying through this whole show, their work doesn't just benefit me and other black women. It benefits us all. And I think that if we can continue to talk about them, support them monetarily, do whatever we can to make sure that their voices are heard, then all of our voices will be heard. And of course, if you want to support this black woman right here, you can do that by supporting the Let Your Voice Be Heard Patreon account. That's patreon.com/BeHeardRadio. And once you do that, we can continue to stay on the air. On that note, guys, I just want to say happy Sunday to you all. Continue to enjoy, fight, educate, inform, and empower. And we'll be back next Sunday, God willing.
After all, tell 'em be humble.